Welcome to this lecture of EI 207 Digital Electronics. In this lecture, we'll discuss about the analog to digital converters and digital to analog converters. So, to start with, let's first understand that what is an ADC and what is a DAC is. So, if we just see it, understand it with the help of a simple diagram, then we know that whenever you see, basic idea is that in the real world the signals are analog in nature, but processing the analog signals is difficult. It requires more hardware, less the output is also less precise, and the noise tolerance, or you can say that the variation in the output is always there is a variation in the output corresponding to a variation in the input. So if there is a slightest noise in the input, then that also affects the output. So considering all these things, processing the analog signals is not very much advantageous. And because of the disadvantages which I have just now told you, we like to process the signals in digital domain, or the digital processors are required for processing the signals. But as I have told you that the available signals, the natural signals, are usually analog in nature. So, and if we want to process it with the help of digital processors, then we have to convert these analog signals to the digital form. And after converting them to the digital form, then only we are able to process them in the analog in the digital with the help of digital processors. So for that we require a circuit which is called as analog to digital converter. So analog to digital converter is basically a circuit which converts the available analog signal to the digital signal. So this is, let's say, this is the analog signal, voice signals, temperature signals, or temperature variations in the day-to-day world. Okay, so these are all analog quantities. So the voice signal which in this diagram you can see that there is a voice signal, let's say, so that is analog in nature. And if you want to process it with the digital systems, because of the advantages which the digital systems offers, then we first convert it with the help of analog to digital converter in the digital signal. So once it is converted, then we process it with the help of digital systems, and then when it is processed completely, later on, to again hear the same analog voice, what we do, we convert it again to the analog form. So for that we require another circuit which is called as DAC. So whenever there is a system which requires digital processing of the system, digital processing of the signals, so we always requires an ADC and a DAC. Okay, but the thing is that the output which we obtained is not exactly as the input applied. So the input which we have applied here was analog in nature, having different frequencies. So with the help of DAC we convert it into the bit streams. Okay, so analog to digital converters. First that analog signal converts it into the this some binary number stream. Then that binary number stream is processed with the help of digital signal systems, and then later on that binary stream, so this binary stream, okay, becomes the input to this DAC, and then this DAC gives you certain output. So that output is not exactly what you have applied as an input, and the reason for this, the change in this output, because it is looking like some steps. So the reason is because this DAC, whatever you apply, do not have infinite resolution, okay, or it do not have infinite number of bits. So whenever you consider analog input, so that can take infinite number of values. Okay, so it can take infinite number of values in a certain range, but this whatever you analog to digital converter you will make, So if it have more number of bits, then the steps, okay, will be small. Then the steps, number of steps, or the resolution, the minimum voltage which can be the minimum analog voltage which can be considered as an uh, output will be although small, okay, but it will be some finite values. So the point is that the either you consider the analog to digital converters or the digital to analog converters, they always have finite number of bits. So because of that, because of this finite number of bits, its output is not exactly as the input, and it will be in the form of small steps. Okay, so this is what the reason is. So considering this, so this is the basic reason that why we use analog to digital converters and digital to analog converters. Okay. So now let us see that what are the various types of analog to digital converters and what are the various types of digital to analog converters. We'll see that in our this unit, and along with that we will also see that what are the important parameters which are useful to evaluate between or to compare between two data converters. Okay, so if there are two data converters and we want to compare one with the other, that which one is better, so we always need some parameters for that. So we'll discuss in the very beginning, we will discuss about those parameters, then one by one we will discuss about first about the DACs, because DACs are easy to design and DACs are also used to make ADCs. Okay, so first we will discuss the parameters, then we will discuss the DACs, then we will discuss ADCs. So this will be the order in which we will discuss the topic in this unit. So let's say if we have, let's say, a digital to analog converter. So a digital to analog converter looks something like this. It's a sort of, let's say it is a black box. So that black box will have some binary inputs. Okay, so depending upon the number of bits for which we design it, so that will be the binary. So this digital number, so this binary number will be the input to this digital to analog converter. Okay, and corresponding to this binary input, it will generate a certain analog output, and as I have told you, it will be in the small steps form because it have this DAC have finite number of bits. Okay, so that is what the reason is. Now as there are, let's say, so the how many number of this possible combinations this DAC can generate. So the number of possible combinations which it can generate depends upon how many bits we have on the input side. So if we have n inputs, then it will generate 2 to the power n possible levels. Okay, so for this is what the reason is, that 2 to the power n, because if 2 levels are there, then with the help of 2 bits we can generate 4 possible combinations. Okay, if there is only 1 bit, then there can be 2 levels, 0 and 1. Okay, so you see 1 bit 2 levels, 2 bit 4 levels. So generalizing this particular thing, we can say that for n number of bits we can have 2 to the power n levels. So whatever voltage you apply, let's say the maximum voltage which you can apply, okay, to this this DAC is, let's say, 1 volt, or the maximum voltage for which we have designed it is, let's say, 1 volt. And if you keep the number of bits same, okay, if let's say the voltage is 1 volt, the input voltage is 1 volt, and first you have designed the circuit for 4 bits. Okay, so then each bit, okay, the minimum resolution can be 0.25 volts, because 4 bits, okay, sorry, not 4 bits, but if you are having 4 bits, then 2 to the power 4 is equal to 16. So 1 divided by 16, okay, will be the minimum voltage which it can sense, the device can sense, right? So that will be called the resolution of the DAC, the minimum voltage, input voltage which it can sense. Okay, the minimum voltage, the minimum voltage which it can produce on the output. So that will be called its sensitivity or something like that, resolution of that ADC, DAC. Okay, so depending upon that resolution, you can see that if we draw the same thing, whatever you have seen here, so that if we draw it on the one of the scale, so on the x-axis we take the digital input code, and on the y-axis if we take the analog output signal, then corresponding to every bit, so if there are n bits b0 to bn, so then you can see that if you see there are 3 bits, we can take the examples of 3 bits, so B0, B1, B2. So then you can see that the 3 bits can generate 8 possible combinations. So you can see that starting from the 0, 0, 0, we have generated up to 1, 1, 1. So these are the possible combinations. Now for every possible combinations, what will happen? For 0, 0, 0 combination, it will generate some value, okay, some output value, analog output value. So if the analog output signal is less than this value, then you can we consider it as 0 bit, okay, or for 0 bit the analog output signal can be in this range, okay. Similarly, when the input variation is between, the analog, this digital input is 001, okay, 001, so this is our LSB and this is our MSB, so 001, so corresponding to that it will generate some value. So you can see that the output, okay, will be a sort of staircase output, okay. So this is called the staircase output. So this voltage which you can apply maximum voltage, or the voltage it will generate for the maximum code, is called your full scale voltage, right? So that is called the full scale voltage, and this particular thing is called your 1 LSB, right? And this is this straight line which you can see slanted 45 degree, a continuous straight line, that is the characteristics for your ideal or ideal DAC. Ideal DAC means the DAC which have infinite resolution. So if the resolution of a DAC is infinite, then the output line will be a very smooth line, okay, without any change. But if it is a finite resolution DAC, then it will have some step in it, okay. So that step depends upon the resolution or the number of bits which you choose. So if the number of bits are high or more, then the step size will be small, okay. If the number of bits which you choose are small, then the bit or the step size will be large. So ideally we want to be the step size should be as small as possible. For that we require more number of bits. So for that we want more number of bits on the input side. But with that the hardware circuitry will also be more. So we always make a sort of trade-off or compromise between how many number of bits we can have, so that the output is like in the considerable range, okay, or depending upon the application we choose this all. So first this is the this is how you get the characteristics of this. Now let's understand the some parameters of this ADC, of this DAC. So the first parameter is resolution. So as I have already told you that the resolution of a DAC is defined as the smallest change that can occur in an analog output as a result of the change in the digital input. So whenever you change the digital input, so whatever is the minimum change which occurs on the analog output is called your resolution. It can be defined in various ways, but it is better to define it in terms of LSB and in terms of percentage. So when we talk about the resolution in terms of LSB, so it is equal to the weight of the LSB, okay, and this minimum resolution or the minimum variation in the analog voltage, which is corresponding to the one change in the digital input, so that is like called one step, okay, that is known as the one step, and this is equal to your LSB weight, okay. And if you try to define it in terms of percentage, so percentage resolution is nothing but the size of one step, okay, so the one step size divided by the full scale. So if you are using like 1 volt and your step size, one step size is 0.1 volt, then your resolution will be accordingly, okay. So now you can see this percentage resolution. You can also define it in terms of the total number of steps. So if you just take the previous formula which I have told you, in that formula you can write full scale as the number of steps into the step size, okay. So step size, if let's say it is 0.1 volt as I said, and the number of steps are let's say 8, so then your total volts will be 0.8. Okay, so the full scale will be let's say 0.8 in this case. So you can determine the resolution for that DAC like this. Okay, so the other parameters which are of importance is the accuracy. So the accuracy of a DAC is specified in terms of full scale error. So if there is no error, then it is called the DAC is called to be very accurate. Okay, but as you know that it is not possible to be like we can make it. So it is the variation from the ideal output. So if whatever ideally you expect that what should be the output of a DAC, then if there is any variation in the output of the DAC from the expected ideal value, then that maximum deviation, okay, so wherever is that maximum deviation, that is called the error of the full scale error of the DAC. Okay, and the accuracy of the DAC is specified in terms of this full scale error, okay, and the linearity error. So if the device is very accurate, then it is the maximum deviation should be least. Okay, so it should be the ideal step should, I mean the ideal characteristics should match with the actual characteristics of the ADC. But as you know, this is not this is always not always this will not be the case. So then whatever is the maximum deviation, so that will be called your DAC error. Okay, so the accuracy is defined in that terms. And you also know that for this type of ADCs or DAC, the output will never match to the ideal output. Okay, so as you know that the DACs and ADCs are always have some finite bit resolution. So because of that, it have a particular noise which is unavoidable. Okay, and which is like not noise but the error which is unavoidable, and that error is called the quantization error. Okay, so the quantization error is very important in case of DACs, and that quantization error cannot be avoided in any DAC or ADC. This quantization error can be minimized but cannot be avoided, and this can be minimum of half LSB. Okay, with some adjustment, as you can see is in the earlier slide you saw that the quantization error was almost equal to 1 LSB, but with some modifications you can reduce it to half LSB, but you cannot reduce lesser than that. Okay, so quantization error is very important. Now let's see the another parameter. So I forgot to mention it, the quantization error in this case, but it is one of the important thing for a DAC or the ADC. Then the other is the offset voltage. So ideally the output of the DAC should be 0 when the binary input is 0. Okay, so or whenever like DAC or ADC you talk, so if DAC you apply the binary input as 0, so the ideal analog output should be also be 0. But in practice what happens when there is like when the input bit or the input digital word is 00, the output analog value will not always be 0. It will have some magnitude, some analog, some voltage on the output side. So that voltage, okay, if it is negative or that can be negative or positive, so that is called the offset error. Okay, so if you require, if suppose you apply 0 bit and you get some negative voltage, to make it positive you have to apply some more bits, like for 001 it becomes positive. Okay, it becomes 0, the output, the analog output will become 0, then this error will be called the positive error. Okay, whereas if you are applying 0 input and if it is giving you 1 volt or something, so then it will be called to have negative error. So offset error can be negative or positive. Okay, this offset error, if not corrected, will be added to the DAC output. Okay, for all the input cases. So it should be first like it should be removed, okay, offset error, or you should compensate for the offset error. You should know what is the offset error for the DAC or the data converter, whether it is a DAC or ADC. Then you also define the settling time for this. So settling time for DAC or the data converter is specified by giving its settling time. Okay, so the operating speed is dependent upon your settling time. So the settling time is defined as the total time between the instant when the digital input changes and the time the output enters into a specified error band for the specified error band. So what happens? Let's say you apply some input, and corresponding to that, the output should be a particular output you should get. So if that output is within that range, okay, let's say in our previous case, in the previous characteristics, when we saw that the analog input was, let's say, 0 to 0.2 volts. So if it is in this range, when you apply, let's say, 000 input on the DAC, then the output is, if in this range, then it is called the settling time of so. Okay, so this is the settling time. So when you change the output from one state to the another state, so then whatever total time the data converter takes to enter in that particular range, okay, in which that for that particular input digital word, that output will have the analog output is in that particular range. So that is called your settling time. So whenever it transits from one state to another state and it settles down in that new state, so whatever time is required, and that new state is not a fixed value, but it can be a certain range, okay, corresponding to the binary word which you apply. So that is called the settling time of the device, and that is very important because by that we decide the operating speed of the DAC. Okay? If it is more, then the operating speed will be less. If the settling time is high, then the operating speed will be less. If the settling time is less, then the operating speed of the device will be high. Okay. Then the other parameter is called the monotonicity. So monotonicity is the of the device is the direction in which the output changes. So if suppose you keep on changing the input value, so then the output should also keep on increasing. So if you are increasing the input value, then the output should also increase. So if this happens, then the device, then the data converter is said to be monotonic. If you increase the input value, but your output, rather than increasing, decreases sometimes, so then it is said to be non-monotonic. Okay, and this non-monotonicity is it should be removed, otherwise there will be some missing codes, or there will be some problems with there will be some problem, or it will not give you proper output for a particular for some particular case. Okay, so the device, the data converter should not have non-monotonicity. Okay, it should be monotonic. Okay, then the settling time depends upon the type of data converter, but that settling time is like governs the speed of the operating speed of the data converter. Then there is an offset voltage which should always be taken care of, otherwise it will get added in the analog output value. Then there is the accuracy. So whatever is the change from the ideal characteristics, so whatever how much the actual characteristic deviates from the ideal characteristics is called your accuracy of the device. So these are the important parameters. We have revised them once again. Now moving on to so these are the parameters which we take care of while designing any type of ADC or DDAC, or when we have to select out of a few competing ADCs or DAC for a particular application, then we choose a particular data converter depending upon the application or what we want. Okay, so if we want high operating speed, so then a particular data converter whose settling time is very large cannot be used for that particular application. Okay, so considering this, we discuss a few types of important DACs and ADCs. We are not going to discuss all the types of ADCs and DACs, but a few important ones, and with this you will get a basic idea that what are the important DACs and they operates on which principle. So our basic idea to understand, to discuss this type of DACs, to discuss various types of DACs and ADCs, is that to get the basic working idea of how, the basic idea that how this data converters work, on which principle they works. So the type of DACs are, the types of DACs which we are going to discuss are weighted resistor type DAC, then R2R ladder type of DAC, then switched current source type DAC, and the switched capacitor type of DAC. So first we will discuss the basic weighted resistor type DAC, and then we will discuss that what are the problems with this and how to modify it, and what are the modifications which are done, and then with modifications we will see that the updated versions R2R ladder and the switched current source type DACs. So let's move on to the weighted resistor type DAC. So the weighted resistor type DAC looks something like this. So this is the circuit diagram for your weighted resistor type DAC. So you can see that this resistor, we have taken an example with this. So in this case you can see that we have taken the example for weighted resistor type DAC which have 4 bits on the input side, okay, and this is nothing but an op-amp. So you must have studied op-amp in your other courses. So to make these data converters in all the type of DACs and ADCs, we always use some op-amp. So if you don't know op-amp, so you revise from your analog course or try to study by your own. So this op-amp we use here to give that particular, to perform certain operations. So here in this case we use an op-amp in the inverting mode. So this is our negative terminal of the op-amp, the input terminal, the negative input terminal of the op-amp, and this is the positive terminal. So the positive input is grounded, whereas the negative input is connected to this, the four resistances with different values. So if this is your R, then this will be the twice of this resistance, and this resistance is the twice of this resistance, and this resistance is twice of this resistance, okay. So like this you connect them. So the weights are increasing, so that is why it is called weighted resistor type, okay. Now what happens with these weights? So you see, and this is your feedback resistance. So this is the feedback resistance which is connected from the output of the op-amp to the input of the op-amp, okay. And this op-amp which we are using here works as an inverting amplifier, because the inverting terminal is connected to the in these resistances are connected to the inverting terminal, okay. So that is why it is called the inverting amplifier. So this op-amp is working as an inverting amplifier here. So from your fundamentals you know that if this is the circuit, then what happens, and you see this is our LSB. So the highest resistance is connected to the LSB, whereas the lowest resistance value is connected to the MSB. So this becomes our LSB and this becomes our MSB, okay. And this is our feedback resistance. RF means feedback resistance. So now what happens from this your fundamentals of op-amp, you know that the output equation Vout for this inverting, if this is your negative terminal and this is your positive terminal, then you know that this can be the equation which you can write for the output voltage. So the output voltage will be, because you see this is the voltage which you will apply. So D3, whenever this particular bit is high, okay, whichever bit is high, that will be connected to from that the voltage that is high. So 5 volt or some high input value or some high voltage will be connected to that terminal, okay. So that is why we have considered them as like this. Now you know, and simply if you don't know, then you can assume that this offers a very high resistance. So the input resistance of an op-amp is infinite, okay. Ideally it should be infinite, and as you can see that if it is infinite, then the current which goes into the op-amp is 0. So if the current which goes into the op-amp is 0, so then whatever current is coming in this node should flow out from this node. So if you just apply the node analysis, then you can see that the incoming current is equal to the outgoing current. So considering this, you can write this equation, and you can find that the equation either from this fundamental which I have told you applying the node analysis, or from the equation which you have learned from your earlier courses, you can write that Vout will be governed by this equation. So we can V out in terms of, and this is the negative terminal, so that is why this negative is coming here, okay, because this is inverting amplifier, this is negative terminal and this is positive terminal, so that is why this negative is coming. So V out you can write in this terms. So D3 is your LSB, D2 is your D0 is your MS, D3 is MSB and D0 is LSB. So you can see that D0 is having the this particular resistance is having the least weight, okay, and this resistance is having the highest weight in this output equation, okay. So this is how you can see. So whichever bit is 1, so corresponding to that this number you can put 1, whereas the others will become 0, and considering this values, if RF and R are equal, okay, so that ratio will be 1 and you can get these values accordingly, okay. So this is how you derive the equation, and if you from this you see that what is the working of this DAC. So you can see that the output is like amplified with this RF by R value, okay, and it is corresponding to whichever bit is high, so that value will be amplified and is available on the output. So that is the logic of this weighted resistor type DAC, okay. But in this circuit the basic problem is that it is very difficult. If you want to fabricate in it on an IC, then it is very difficult to fabricate this very high values of resistance, okay, because if it is a high bit, because if you increase the number of bits, then the value of resistance which you are going to use will also keep on increasing, okay, and sometimes it is difficult to get the value of resistances in the exact multiple of 2, okay, and if this is the case, then this circuit will not work. So considering this difficulty, this type of weighted resistor type of DAC is good to understand it. I mean, theory you can understand it from this example, from the theory of this weighted resistor type DAC. You can understand the basic working of any DAC, but this is not used practically, okay, because there is a practical limitation that we cannot get the value of this resistances, okay. So that is why this type of DAC is not used practically. Then there is a modification. In that modification, basic idea is that only, but rather than using the resistances of different values like R, 2R, 4R and 8R, what we do is this is the circuit for your R2R ladder type of DAC. So in this what we do is we use this op amp, okay. This op amp is like it is the same as the earlier one. In the earlier case we have used an RF resistance. Here we are not using any feedback resistance, but it is a unity feedback resistance, okay, unity feedback op amp. So it is a unity feedback op amp, and on the input side, earlier we have connected all the resistances to the input terminal. Here what we are doing, we are connecting all the input resistance to the output, this positive terminal, okay. And you can see that the resistances value, this is what the change is. So rather than using the different values of resistances, we use only 2 values of resistances and we form a sort of ladder. So this on the input side of the op amp, you can see it is looking like a ladder. So this you can see that it is looking like a ladder. So that is why it is called. And the ladder, the values of the resistances in this ladder are only R and 2R. So there is no other value of resistance which you use. So you use a R value resistance and a 2R value, R and a 2R. So R and a 2R, 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 okay. So this is what the arrangement for a R2R ladder type of DAC. In this particular bit, so this whatever you apply here, this will be your MSB and this will be your LSB. This will be considered as your LSB. So to understand its working, we can very easily understand it. So we will understand it, the working with the help of some cases, okay. And if the case is like multiple, we'll consider that what is the output when a single bit is high, okay, considering the other bits as 0, whereas if one bit becomes high, then what is the output. So we'll consider it this way. But if there are multiple bits which becomes high, then we can simply use superposition theorem to find the total output, okay. So what I mean is, while studying, we will see 4 cases that when this bit is high, whereas the other bits are 0, so what is the output. In the second case, we will see that when this bit is high and the rest of the other bits are 0, then what is the output. Okay, so this way we'll see the 4 cases. But suppose in the practical case, what happens if the 2 bits becomes 1 simultaneously, then what we can do is we can overlap or we can sum the output of these 2 cases. Okay, so then we get the output corresponding to that when the case when both the inputs are 1 1, okay, or both the inputs are high. So how to do this, how to find the output corresponding to this? So to find the output corresponding to this, what we have to do is we have to apply Thevenin's voltage and we have to find the Thevenin's resistance and the Thevenin's voltage across this ladder. Okay, so whichever bit we are applying 1, whichever bit we are making high on that bit, okay, so corresponding to that bit we will find that what is the VTH and the RTH, the Thevenin's voltage and Thevenin's resistance across that terminal. So if we see inside that terminal, then what is the voltage, VTH and RTH we are going to find. Okay, so that is what we have to see. So you see, if suppose this MSB we are making 1, so when the let's study the first case, when the input is like 1,000,000, so this MSB is 1 and the rest of the other bits are 0 0. For this case, if you will see, if you want to find the output, then you can see that for this particular case when this bit is 1, so you are assuming that you are applying some high voltage here. Okay, so let's say 0.5 DC voltage you have, or 5 volt DC voltage you are applying here. Okay, so whatever V volts or E volts you are applying here, whichever bit is becoming 1. So now you see, if I find, so this bit is becoming 1, so we have to find the RTH and VTH across this terminal. Okay, so if this bit becomes 1, then we will find the RTH and VTH across this terminal. If this bit becomes 1, then across this, so on and so forth. So if this bit is becoming 1, so we'll find the VTH and RTH across this terminal. So to find the VTH and RTH across this terminal, we'll use let's say suppose if I want to find the RTH, so then what I will do, I will open this terminal and will find this the total resistance across this 2 terminals. So what is the total resistance looking inside this terminal? Okay, so to find that, we can see that as these 2 resistances are in parallel with each other, so 2R if are in parallel with each other, okay, and all these terminals are grounded, you can see. Okay, so you can see that this terminal, because this are all inputs are 0 0, so this all are grounded. So if 2R are in parallel, then the combination will be equal to R. Now that R is in series with this R, so it will become 2R. So now you will see that 2R again in parallel, so it will become R. RR in series, so 2R. 2R parallel, so R. RR is in series, so it will become 2R. So you can see that when you simplify it very simply, okay, by applying the Thevenin's voltage and resistance, so you can see that the RTH across this point, across this terminal will be 2R. Okay, right. So this is what I am doing, and this is what you have to do. So the R equivalent is equal to 2R. Now this 2R is in parallel with this 2R. Okay, so this not parallel, like I should say, because this terminal is grounded. So you can see that this across this point, so this is if A point, so then you can see that this is your A point. So across A, you have found this, the equivalent resistance of this network as 2R, and this is the 2R resistance, and here you are applying some voltage E. Okay, so you can see that here you have applied voltage some E. Now across this and the ground there is this potential, so you can redraw the circuit like this. So there is a voltage E and there are 2 resistances 2R in series with each other. So if you this is open circuit, you assume. Okay, so Thevenin's voltage and resistance you know how to find. So considering this, I'm just trying to explain you the things. So then these 2 resistances becomes in series with each other, and if you find the Thevenin's voltage across this resistance, so then if this voltage is E and if these 2 resistances are 2R, so the voltage across this will be half of this voltage. Okay, so this if this is E, then the voltage across this will be E by 2. Okay, so this you understood. So this is like when the MSB is high, so corresponding to that you get the output voltage is E by 2. Okay, so now you see, so this is how we define it, we derive it. Now let's see the other case. So the point is that when our first bit MSB is high, then the corresponding to that the output voltage will be equal to E by 2. Okay, so the output voltage here will be equal to E by 2. So that output voltage will be exactly the output voltage which is available across this resistance. That is why we have found the Thevenin's voltage and voltage and resistance. Now let's see the case 2. So similarly, whatever we have done for the first case 1 triple 0, we will do the same thing, but now not across the that previous terminal, but across this second terminal. So here we are here our terminal, this terminal is, so you see this is the network. So earlier we found it across this. Now over this terminal, this is becoming 1. Okay, so D2 is becoming 1. So the rest of the terminals we have considered to be connected as ground to the ground, but this terminal is not connected to the ground, but it is connected to the E volt. So this is what you can see. So it is connected to E volt, and then to the left of this terminal we find, so the resistance across this left of this will be equal to 2R, whereas the right across this it will be same. So R and 2R are there. Okay, so R and 2R. Now if you want to find the this resistance, so you see this is 2R and this is also 2R. So this is E. So you can see that earlier case you have found that the voltage across this, the Thevenin's voltage is E by 2. Okay, so if this is E by 2 and these two resistances are this resistance. Okay, so this is your this you have made open, and this is your resistance R. So this is your R. Now if you want to find the Thevenin's voltage, so this, because this terminal is open, so this resistance will not have any effect, and if this becomes E by 2, so this voltages, these two resistances we have seen already, so it became like E by 2. Okay, now this E by 2 and this resistance. Okay, so what I'm saying is that if we find across this point, so earlier it was the voltage across this point was E by 2. Okay, now across this point the total voltage will be E by 2 and there will be this resistance 2R. So the voltage across this 2R resistance will be equal to what? How much? It will be equal to this E by 2 and this 2 resistances 2R, which was the total equivalent resistance of this network, and the 2R. So then the total resistance, total voltage across this resistance will be your this V out. So that will be equal to, if this is E by 2 and these two resistances are equal to 2R, then this will be equal to E by 4. Okay, so you can see that depending upon which bit is becoming 1, if this bit became 1, okay, so earlier when this bit was 1, at that time your output was E by 2. Now when this bit is high, your output is equal to E by 4. Okay, so keep this in mind. Now let's see the third case. So in the third case, when the input is 0 0 1 0, so in this case you can see that this bit is becoming 1, so this is getting high, and this two are 0 0 and this is also 0. So in this case again we have to do the same thing. So the left of this we will find again the equivalent resistance, so that will find to S2R and the rest of this network. So again if we find what is the voltage across, we have to find the voltage across this, but before that if we find it, so then we find, applying your Thevenin's theorem, or you can apply the mesh analysis. So we have to find the voltage across this resistance. So finally if you find the voltage across this resistance, this will be equal to, again you see this. So what will happen? So what will happen if you consider this? So this is E volt, and if you apply your mesh analysis, you can refer it from the book as well, the in between circuit diagram. So you can see that this voltage across this resistance now will be rather E by 8. Okay, so for following the same logic which we have done earlier, the equivalent thermal this Thevenin's equivalent resistance voltage will be E by 4, and this resistance is again 2R. So in whichever case you find, what the Thevenin's resistance will always be equal to 2R, whereas the voltage keep on decreasing. Okay, so for the MSB it was E by 2, then for the next bit it was E by 4. Okay, sorry, this was E by 2, then this was E by 4, then this for this it will become E by 8. So you can see that if this is E by 4 and these two resistances are in series like this, then the voltage across this resistance will be E by 8. So this is what I was telling you. Okay, now in the last case, again following the same logic, you can see that again we have to find the voltage across this resistance, but before finding the voltage across this resistance we have to follow the whole procedure. So now in this case this bit is 1, whereas the rest of the bits are 0, and this is our this is also grounded. So in this case, if we find, so we can see that the circuit will become something like this. Okay, so in this case, so applying the same Thevenin's voltage and the mesh analysis, you can find this current I3 and the resistance across the voltage drop across this resistance. So the voltage drop across this resistance will be your VTH, and that will come equal to as E by 8. And then this E by 8 and this resistance 2R, when you find, so this is the Thevenin's equivalent resistance. So if you apply this 2R here, then the voltage across this 2R will be E by 16. So if these two resistances are equal and this is E by 8, so then the voltage across this resistance will be E by 16. So considering this, you can see that the output is like, depending upon which input is 1, so the output changes. Okay, and the output is like for MSB it was E by 2, for the next bit it was E by 4, for the lowest bit it was E by 16 if it is a 4-bit DAC we are considering. So this is how it works. And if it is like multiple bits become a high, so then as I have told you with the example, you can understand that simultaneously if 2 bit becomes high, then you can obviously apply superposition theorem to find the output, the total output. Okay, now moving on to the another type of DAC. This is the switched capacitor, a switched current source type DAC. So the earlier cases we have discussed about the other two DACs. Okay, so the other two DACs, those DACs are voltage controlled type of voltage source type of DACs. Okay, but rather than voltage source type of DAC, we have to use current source type of DACs. So this have little other practical applications. So the earlier cases which we DACs which we have seen were not of that much practical importance. Why? Because they are little slow, and rather than using the voltage source type of DACs, it is always better to use current source type of DACs. And this current source type of DACs are faster compared to because it is easier to switch the current rather than the voltage. Okay, it is always easier to switch the current rather than the voltage. So that is why the switched current source type of DACs are used rather than the voltage source type of DACs. The concept is more or less same. The only thing which we do is, rather than using the voltage there, so what we have done in the previous cases, we have used some voltages to on some terminal. So whichever terminal was becoming high, so we are considering that the voltage on that terminal is becoming high, and then we have analyzed the circuit and found the Thevenin's voltage and resistance across that point. Okay, but in case of current source type of DACs, the logic is same. The only difference which we do is that voltage. Okay, so that earlier we were changing the terminals at which we are applying the voltage. Here we keep, here in this type of DAC, to make it current source, we convert that voltage into current. Okay, and we do not keep on changing that voltage, rather we use some fixed reference voltage. Okay, we use that voltage as well, but that will be little different. So this is what the circuit looks like of a current source type of DAC. So here you can see that the ladder is more or less same as the earlier. So earlier also we have used the R2R ladder. So here also we are using the R2R ladder. You can see the R2R ladder. Okay, so the earlier this was our, so D0, so this becomes LSB here, and this is our MSB. Okay, so this is same as the earlier case. The circuit is a little different, so don't get confused with that. Okay, but then in the earlier case we were not using this reference voltage there. Here we are using the reference voltage here. Okay, so because of this reference voltage, what happens, whichever terminals become 1, okay, so in this case you can see that whichever inputs are 1, so those all are connected here to this this inverting amplifier. So this is again an op amp we are using. The inverting terminal is connected like this. So if this inputs are 1, so then it will sum up all those whichever input is 1. So this terminal will, because it is working as an summer or the integrator. Okay, so this is basically your integrator. So it is integrates or sum up all these values. So what happens in this case, you can see that the current flowing through this branch is, you see this is directly connected to this 2R. So the current flowing through this resistance is, this I3 will be equal to E reference upon 2R, okay, whereas the current flowing through this branch will be E reference by 4R, okay, because you can see that the current in this second branch, okay, is, the current in the second branch is given by this, because the equivalent resistance to the right of this second, to the right of this branch, okay, to the right of the second branch is 2R, okay, right of the second is second 2R, this second 2R, this is your second 2R, so this right to this, it is again this 2R, and so the current gets divided among equally among these two branches, okay, because it is R plus R, so this is R, you can see, and the total, if you will find the Thevenin's equivalent, so then it will become also 2R. Oh, I'm sorry, not this, this is the left side, so this side if you will see, so this is your second 2R, so if you will find this total resistance, so these two resistances are in parallel with each other, then this resistance is in series with this and this, so like this if you will find, so the total resistance across the right of this is again coming to be 2R, and 2R if you will see, okay, so then it will become okay, so it will become R, and this R and R, so this resistance R and R, so this total resistance, so you can see that this is the total resistance across this terminal is 2R, and if this is 2R, so the current will be equally divided among these two branches, okay, so that is what I was saying. So forget this previous discussion where I was discussing this, I thought this is right, so but this is left, okay. So now you can see that the current flowing through this branch becomes, earlier it was E reference by 2, then it will become E reference by 4R in this case, so like this it will keep on changing. So from the nth branch in general, the current will be this one. So IN is equal to E reference by R into 1 by 2 to the power n minus n, okay. So this is what you can see, that this is what the general current, this general current flowing through a particular branch, you can find it like this. Now this is what happens, and when whichever inputs are 1, so those all inputs get connected directly to this inverting terminal, and they are added up together to get the output. So the total current here in this branch will be the sum of all these currents flowing in this branch, okay. So this is what happens. Now we can see that this circuit can also works as voltage to current converter, behaves as a voltage to current converter, okay. Now moving on to the another type of DAC. So okay, so here the DACs are over, in the analog to digital converters are starting. So in the next class we will start from here. So I stop my today's class here itself. Thank you for listening.